Hello guys, and today we will talk about the main Russian tradition, national tradition, alcoholism. I don't know why they drink so much, but we will try to figure out together. My name is Anna and I'm from Ukraine, and sometimes when I imagine that I am made to live in Russia, I can imagine drinking a lot to escape this reality. According to World Health Organization, 1 in 5 men in Russia will die because of alcohol-related causes. 20 million of Russian people out of 140 million suffer from alcoholism, and this is objective statistics. What is worse, alcoholism as national Russian tradition is kept very strictly and kept for centuries. Russian Tsar Ivan the Terrible, and yes, they knew better how to name Russian leaders in that times, so Ivan the Terrible decided to organize a national network of kabaks, specific places where his servants could drink without eating, but also pay for that. Yes, Russian Tsars were making money while making their people drink. In times of Peter the Great, it was even forbidden for wives not to let their husbands visit such places and drink as much as they wanted. Police were allowed to whip such women who wanted to prevent alcoholism in their men. Why did Peter the Great or Ivan the Terrible need that? Well, because that brought money, and also it was much easier to control such people. For example, not many volunteered to join Russian Tsar army, but they had debts, and to avoid this alcohol debts, they could join army for 25 years. This is exactly what Peter the Great did. And yes, I am not joking that the leaders of the country actually wanted to turn the nation into drunks. This is a very known quote of a very respected in Russia Tsaritsa Ekaterina II, who said it is much easier to rule the people who drink a lot. In times when new industries and technologies were booming, in 1850, half of Russia's government revenue were because of vodka. 50% of Russian state income was selling vodka to its people. Of course, there were short periods when people wanted to ban alcohol, but after this very short period, the production of alcohol only rose, and state did not want to lose this opportunity. Those of you who like frightening stories can read more about the period of Russian Revolution in the beginning of the 20th century, and many communists wrote in their memoirs they were afraid that the whole revolution will fail because so many people got access to free wine and vodka. Maybe that is also a reason for specific Russian violence and criminal behavior in some core historic moments. During Soviet era, from period to period, different party leaders tried to ban alcohol, but it did not help. Not only because of the income they could receive, but also because people could not survive without it and started inventing moonshine apparatus, or many were poisoned to death by drinking antifreeze or even perfumes. And yes, it is not a joke. Even now in Russian pharmacies and in various cosmetics shop, they know about different types of medicines or perfumes they can drink. Vodka is also cheap, and it is cheap from this financial point of view, but it's extremely expensive in terms of human life. Approximately 500,000 people die a year in Russia because of alcohol consumption. That is huge. Women drink a lot too, but male life expectancy in Russian Federation is actually 20 years shorter than in many European countries. What is worse, alcohol is also responsible for various physical and neurological impairments, and not only in adults, but also in children who were born from such parents. And in Russian orphanages, there are many people, many children whose life is spoiled by alcohol consumption of their parents. Now, in times of brutal Russian war against Ukraine, alcohol is the second reason for deaths in Russian Federation after the deaths because they visited Ukraine. So approximately 138 men in Russia die per day. More only in Ukraine, because Ukraine is very bad for Russian soldiers. What is worse, alcoholism is not seen as a problem, neither on individual level nor on state level. Alcoholism, excessive drinking, is a part of Russian literature, a part of Russian films and music, and it is treated as a national feature. All over the world, there are organizations like Alcoholics Anonymous and other groups that help each other deal with this problem and recover from this addiction. In Russia, they are extremely unpopular, and many people, when asked why don't they address or create similar clubs, say, how can I change myself? Another symptom of the authoritarian state, they do not believe they can change something by themselves. An individual is not important. It is only a medical group or some enforcement that can help them, which is wrong. But authoritarian Russian government likes it and uses it because it is much easier to control people with addiction. They have lots of troubles and anxieties in their life, and they are not into politics, or they can accept any challenges the state gives them and, for example, mobilize to come to Ukraine. But not only they don't question politics, lots of Russian political leaders are advanced alcoholics. Just look at Medvedev. It seems to me we have more of his drunk photos than of his sober photos. And Yeltsyn was loved by his drunk dances on the stage during important public meetings. This is not just the tradition, not just the part of culture, but to some extent Russian value. And they love sharing this value with others. What is worse, they make people drink even if they don't want. It's a common Russian practice to make you drink, and the more you drink, the better friend, guest or colleague you are. Many Russian indigenous peoples were not prepared to consume these sizes of alcohol and suffered greatly. Some of them even died out because of the epidemics of alcoholism. And yes, Russians do not eat when they drink because they want to get most of vodka. This is something that differs greatly from many northern nations that do consume strong alcohol, but always like to eat something while drinking because it helps to remain you sober. There is one very Russian joke. When vodka becomes more expensive, children tell their dad, "Well, it's very expensive, now you will drink less." And he answers, "No, now you will eat less." It's not a joke. And it's not a stereotype, and I don't know why Russians drink so much, make others drink so much, and treat it not as a problem, but as a characteristic feature of the mysterious Russian soul. According to Russian Institute of Demography, Migration and Regional Development, if Russians continue drinking the way they do now, by 2050 the population of Russia will decrease from 140 million to 80 million. I don't mind. Together with war in Ukraine, Russia destroys its population like crazy. And perhaps they drink to escape these realities instead of building civil society and changing bad habits, like changing bad leaders. Remember to subscribe and share the videos that you like. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons, but most importantly, thank you for standing with Ukraine. Cheers to that. Slava Ukraini!